All right, guys, so I am going to go over some of the basic ways that you can use Google Draw to create your protest poster. Remember, you have the option to do this by hand if you have the supplies or the artistic ability to come up with a good-looking handmade poster. You absolutely have that option. But for those of us that are not as artistically inclined, like myself, you can use this Google Drawing. It's got a lot of functions that you can utilize to make something that would look just as nice as if you were drawing it. So I'm going to show you guys some of those easy ways, but I will say the first thing you need to be thinking about before you really even start designing is, what is your slogan going to be? It needs to be based on your political view that your colonist has been given. If you're a neutralist, you get to choose at this point. You can look at those arguments that the British had versus the colonists and decide which one you'd rather be. And the person from each political party that has the nicest poster based on a class vote will get an extra 10 pounds this week. So if you think that most people will try to make patriot posters and you want a better chance of winning, you maybe want to do a loyalist poster. I don't know, up to you. I did my example as a patriot, obviously, and you cannot use this quote, but this is the kind of slogan that I've come up with. So, the king hath not earned my stamp of approval, so why must I pay his? So the specific act that I'm focusing on is the Stamp Act. If your job isn't really affected by the Stamp Act, you can pick any of the acts that the colonists that the Parliament put onto the colonists. You can talk the Proclamation Line, the Quartering Act, the Sugar Act, the Currency Act. Any of those that we've talked about up to this point, you are able to use. But I should know your political view based on your words. Does need to be 3 or 4 words at a minimum. It could be a little bit longer, like mine. If you remember sitting in at least my classroom, you might have seen the posters that are up on the 2 large cabinets. Those were from this activity. So you get to be as creative as you want here, but make sure it's creative. And it does need to look nice. I mean, it's not like everything has to be done like to the most top-notch standard, but it should be something that you're proud of. And again, the winner is going to get that extra 10 pounds this week. So I'm going to go over some of these basic functions, and I'll do that by starting out with a blank canvas here. So like I said, you want to start with your slogan, and then your design can be around it, because if you make your whole thing set up for the Stamp Act and then think of a really good Quartering Act slogan, you kind of put yourself into a hole there. So I'm going to do the other quote that you guys can't use, which is just no taxation without representation, because that's the one they came up with. That's not creative. I want you to come up with a creative one yourself. So if I were to go and create this, so I know that I'm going to want to put my slogan in as text. So I'm going to go up here to this text box, and I'm going to draw a text box. And you can put all of your words that you want in your slogan in the one text box. But if you liked how I kind of had mine a little bit like distorted and moved around, those are separate text boxes that I have used. I've grouped them now, but so this is what I would do. I know I'm going to do no taxation without representation. So if I go no, and if I want to, you're going to have to create multiple text boxes here. So if I've got that selected, I can do Control C, or, you could click with 2 fingers and copy, but these are shortcuts, and I think this is so much easier. And then Control V. And then I will just get as many text boxes as I need. I know that I'm wanting no taxation without representation. So that gives me enough. And all I'm going to do now is kind of move these around and start typing in the words that I need. So taxation. You kind of get the point. I'll go to the next part. Okay, now Arial 14 is like the most boring font ever. So I would suggest changing that. So if you want to change what your words look like, you highlight your word. And it's just like in any of the Google, Site slides or docs, you have all of those normal options. So I would suggest you want to fill this whole page. So I would definitely suggest making the words much larger. So let's see. There we go. And just adjust your boxes a bit. Okay, so like that, but now I'm still Arial, and that is not a fun font. Now, do not make all the changes you want to your font to every single one as you're going. Get one of your text boxes like you like it, and then you can just copy that format to the rest of them, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, if you look at a lot of my resources, you notice I've got all types of different slide or fonts that I use. I've done this by adding more fonts. And this isn't always an option that you have. You can click more fonts, and it is going to give you guys so many options here. As soon as you click on one, it will go over to your like drop down bar automatically, which is why I have so many on mine. You can, sort them by different things. You could do ones that are trending, different things like that. So you'll pick whichever font you think will make your poster, what you want it to be. So let's go with, I've never used this one, so let's go with that. And so now when I go to my drop down, I'll be able to find my new font that I just added. Or I should. Guess that one's not available. That happens from time to time. So I'm just going to use this Chelsea Market. Kind of has that colonial look to it. Okay, and then I can really start thinking about how I'm wanting to design this now. Maybe I want to think of my background color. Let's say for this one. So if you guys just do your click with 2 fingers, you'll be able to go background, and now you can choose a background color. If you don't like any of the ones that are given, you can go and find your own. So I did my last one as gray. I'll do this one as, let's go with blue. Actually, let's go with red. I'm going to do, no, we'll go blue. So you can change the transparency here, so it doesn't have to be like fully dark. I use transparent stuffs a lot. Okay, so I got my background now, and now I can figure out what color I want my words. And I'd like that to be a little bolder and a little bigger. Okay, so now I told you guys you could just copy the format. You go up here to this paint and double click. Now you can just click on each of those words, and it is going to give it the same exact format. Now, obviously, you'll have to adjust these boxes, so you can go back to your cursor, pull this out, and now you'll be able to see it on the same line. All right, so all I did when you were gone was I just changed the font sizes a little bit. And if you want to kind of move your letters around, you can, angle them, whatever you are wanting to do. Now, if you saw on mine, you kind of see how it looks like these letters jump off the page. This is how you would do that. So you're going to highlight, and you're going to hit the format options, and you're going to get this little menu here. And this is how I did it. I did drop shadow, and you can kind of see how a shadow showed up behind. I would make the distance a little bit further. All right, hold on. So you can kind of mess with these functions here. The further the distance, the more it goes. You can change the angle, and it will kind of move around depending on whatever you kind of feeling. So let's go there. Can also make it a little darker by taking away the transparency. If you'd like to make it white, you can change what the back shadow looks like. So those are just some kind of easy changes you can make to make your letters stand out a bit. And again, let's say you like that and you want that on all your letters. Remember, you can just go to this format painter, and you can, it's going to put the size too, but so there it goes. I just clicked in between did that format painter and clicked on the box. So now you can go back and you just have to change the fonts back to what they were or about what they were. Too little. All right, so I just made those adjustments, and I think that I want to try this one out with a different color drop shadow. All right, so maybe you're liking how that looks.